welcome back to Seawolf's Den. I'm Crafting Ron. This is a unique video in that I'm showing the end product beforehand, trying a different format, but only because I started working on this ship, and in between waiting for this ship to dry, I worked on this one. And I intended on doing two separate videos, but they just kind of ended up blending together. And so to follow is parts of the process of building these two ships. So here they are. I did a bunch of crafts prior to a convention, and that's usually how my rhythm works, is conventions drive what I'm crafting. Unfortunately, that will probably be the last convention I do this year. I usually do 2 a year, and things have aligned in such a way that I can't go to my November event. So I'm going to do a bunch of random crafts just because I can. We've seen this one in an unboxing, and I've thought about doing something with it, and this is something new that I'm trying. I've seen it done. I've seen many websites that do basically shampoo bottle spaceships. Well, I've already got a spaceship, and I want to make it scaled down. This already puts it at a scale of a action figure, which you can tell me whatever scale that is, and I want to scale it down so that it looks like something like this. And this is an unpainted miniature. Something like this can get on it, and it's a bigger ship. As you can see, she's much smaller, and so like the other ships I've done, I'm trying to scale it down. My goal is, and I've said this before, is take all the ships that I have and create kind of a spaceport encounter eventually. The shampoo bottle idea that I'm going to use is I'm just going to take their idea and expand it. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'm using no plug here, but a shampoo bottle, my other one. I cut it in half using the bandsaw, again, very handy. And then I cut a little piece off of this gel bottle for a cockpit buff. The goal is to cover up that cockpit and make it look more robust. I know you're kind of saying, well, that shampoo bottle still looks like a shampoo bottle. Well, give me a minute. I'm going to put this on it like that. I'm probably going to paint that up silver so that it looks like reflective and cover that part up. But this doesn't fit completely. It has to be stretched and melted. So I'll use a heat gun, probably clamp this down and heat gun it so that it'll stretch over it, then glue it. Yes, it looks like a bottle right now. I think that if I paint it, it'll look, it'll start to look different. But of course, I fall back to my 40K bits, since now I'm going to just mount a few 40K bits, maybe some of that plastic to give it a little more plating look. And down here, I'm going to cover up this slot because this used to have a wing sticking out of it, kind of a precursor to the B-wing, I guess. I'm going to cover this up. But I want to make this part right here somehow, maybe I want to make this a way to get on the ship, a gangway or whatever you call it, gangplank. So it looks like, all you got to do is lower your head a little bit and climb up the plank inward into the ship. These used to have something on it. I'm going to put those back. Both of these will have something on it. And then, I'm going to 40K bit this thing to the point that it looks like a bigger ship. So that's my goal for this one. I may do the heat gun on camera. Maybe start the process of gluing this down. See, right now, if you glue it down, it's just going to push back up. What you want to do is heat it up so that it no longer resists this shape, and then you can just glue it down. I have a second one in case that doesn't work. Starting to look like another type of ship. That is my next project. I wasn't going to do a video on this. Why not? Content is content, right? I had parts. After restoring an X-Wing and a what is it called, snow speeder. I had a lot left over, and this particular one had a broken canopy up here, and it's stained with a lot of crap, and an extra bottom that had broken pins and stuff. So I brought them together, and I want to do another crash site. I'm going to do a different kind of crash site. This is the bottom of the X-Wing that I melted. So I cut out the melted part, and I'm just going to try to slap these on. I'm obviously slapped on one of the engines. I've got one other. I'm going to cut into this here and put another engine on. Cover this up with some plastic and parts. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Of course, it's just another bottom piece. So I don't know, it might fit under here. And this piece kind of overlaps it this way. I'm just going to give it a better detail that separates it from, because I think I'm going to have a crash like this. Challenge is really just kind of separating it out and make it look less like the snow speeder and more like a 25 or 28 millimeter ship. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. This was my first attempt at trying to put this engine in here, and I ended up cutting out. Well, this is where the battery sits, so it was a lot less to cut, but I still ended up messing up pretty badly the Dremel. So I'm gonna have to cover this up with something. I think I've got a plan, and it'll look different. Okay, so here goes the heat gun on the shampoo bottle ship. So it's simply melting it enough so that it no longer tries to form back into the original shape. So I just heat it up, and then I use compressed air to cool it off. And there you go. Came up with an idea while I'm working on this. All right, I glued those two parts together. I'll just spray paint them black and then paint over the one part silver so that it looks like kind of a window. But these parts, apparently there were wings that go up and down on this thing, and obviously I didn't get those, but I wanted to cover these up, and I looked at my one container of stuff and I came up with an idea which looks like it's working okay. So what I do is nip out the middle of this thing. Cut out the middle, then cut a slit, and these are these applesauce containers. So cut out a slit, and you just fit it over this. Just wanted to give it a little more flair, a little bit more. I feel like this just makes it look like something's missing. So I want to put these guys in there to at least smooth it out. That's the last one. All right, make sure that the slits are on the inside like that. And now we've got a better looking, smoother looking ship. It's not fitting perfectly on the front end. There's too many, but I'll leave it. I'll let that settle on about, so I'll leave it like that. And we'll do those later. But that's the idea I had, and I think it worked. You know, of course it's bright yellow, and of course that'll be painted over. This is almost ready. Like that. This needs to be a little bit wider here. I did another heat gun treatment. This back so it would settle, and it does. It settles pretty good. I think glue will handle it from there, but in order for the nose to come down, this has to be heated up. Okay, so that's that. 40K bits I have not decided on. Kind of like the idea of another one of these on the back of this. Maybe with like an engine. Probably mount some guns on each side or underneath. We'll see. Another thing we can do, I'm using the polystyrene to cover up some of this. You could use cardboard, I suppose. But I kind of wanted something sturdier. If you're not really wanting to buy anything else, let's go ahead and glue that down. I just noticed that I never actually put those screws back. This is all the parts from this. Yeah, this goes on the front end. They were glued. This goes on the back end, like that, which I don't like. This just leaves a hole. So we're gonna do something else. Anyway, so I've glued those back on, and of course they look distinctively X-Wing. Got an idea for the back end. The back end was just these two things. The back end was just these two things, and it kind of looked kind of lame. I don't like that. So I might take bottle cap, give it a little bit more. And honestly, that looks more like a water vessel than a spaceship. So either use these, but it really looks like a submarine with those on it. Well, we do that. I think that looks better, even though that still looks kind of Submarine-like. What I can do is I'll cut those out, and yeah, put that on there by itself. But I like the idea of the bottle cap. I suppose I can just glue it on, but that won't be sturdy when I try to pop it on there. I'll go ahead and just see if this will hold. All right, I skipped ahead a lot with this build. You saw this last when it was still apart. I hadn't put this engine on. It has gone through quite a bit of 40K bit. So I didn't film any of that because I wasn't sure if any of it was going to work. Looks like it did, and it started coming together. And obviously, in the end, I chose not to make it a crash, but to make it a ship because it was just coming together too good, too well. I'm already starting to see some flaws I got to fix. So last you saw was this engine was on, and none of these parts were. What sealed the deal for me was not only being able to use a bunch of parts that I never even thought I'd be able to use, and finding a canopy that worked. That was just something I had laying around. And then having this idea on the front end, another canopy in another gun position. And you can easily see like a 28mm head or person laying down inside this canopy shooting that gun. And then a pilot or two, and a pilot and a co-pilot sitting in this thing. Again, these are model pieces I've had for years that I finally got to use. Other parts are 40K parts. This whole thing was a 40K part that I never really knew I'd be able to use. Other parts added to it kind of enhances it. These are woody parts that I had left over, and this is a 40K gun that I mounted on the back. Again, 40K parts. And I covered up parts of this with plastic polystyrene. Reasonably happy with it. It looks kind of rough, but I wanted it to look rough. Does it look reduced? I was hoping the canopies would make it kind of crank it down. Another step I made in that effort was to put a door on the back. This is how they get in and out. So that kind of makes it. I had a bunch of these, and I'm glad I was able to find a place to put it. And there's some more polystyrene plastic to kind of give it a look that it belongs there. At least I think it does. I kind of went bland with the grays. I had multiple grays. I was thinking about doing some kind of either flame coming off of here or maybe a tiger type face on it, but I'm not good at drawing. And what really sealed the deal was the second engine. It's almost perfect, almost identical in terms of how I cut it. The engine really worked, and it looks like it's part of the ship as far as I'm concerned. And I got a landing gear, and here's the other part of the X-wing. It sits perfectly, like I said, like I indicated when I was going through the design phase. It fits perfectly there. Had some more 40K bits to kind of enhance that. And then a landing gear, one of my last landing gears. These are the screw holes that I put beads to kind of give it a VTOL engine look. It still kind of looks like a snow speeder, but I'm real happy with that. So this was a straightforward build. I've done a lot of work on the spaceship version, smaller scale. As you can see, added all kinds of bits and stuff, some guns. This is Final Faction guns. These are 40K bits, some beads, and some other bits all over the place. My favorite part is I just used a random bit that I don't think I could ever use. I didn't think of. I used it for a gang port. It doesn't open, it's glued in, but at least gives you some sense that it's a gangplank. That's where the characters go, or to enter the ship. Other 40K bits, some applesauce tops, a total of 7 used. I like the way these look, and I'm not real happy with this end of it. I tried to dress it up with some cardstock paper and just cover it up. I'm gonna end up painting that over, so hopefully it won't look so bad. That's the worst part of it all, as far as I'm concerned. But still, again, table ready. One thing I'm gonna do, kind of dress this up a little bit, is put this on the front end. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna round this out so that it fits in there better. A little dremeling, do you good. Kind of the way that looked. I broke this off from something else, and I thought I was gonna throw it away, and it actually can be used, and I will. Glue that down. So yeah, I added some bits here and some plastic polystyrene just to kind of give it a different look and less like the bottle. Once I paint it, I think it'll look fine. Pinned these actually turn. I used a soldering iron to burn holes. Could have drilled, but I think that was too risky. So I used a soldering iron to melt holes into the sides, and there's a model screw holding these together. And then also what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these rocket packs, Doesn't look like much, but I kind of like it. I'm going to pin them into the sides here and do a rocket look. There's some other points of interest. My candle out and my lighter. It was a little loose because the pin came out. All right, so there's our little jet engines. Okay, next. Okay, we're back after a lot of work has been done. It is not finished by far. It is partway through painting. I don't like some of the stuff that ended up on the bottle when I was painting it, and this was not satisfied with its look, and so I started adding more bits. You can see some unpainted bits that are there. I'm going to go back and paint those again. But the biggest problem with the paint was spray paint. I base painted or primed it with black and then got this other paint from the hardware store, thinking I would need a lot of it. So I bought a big bottle rather than some modeler's paint. And for some reason, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, you kind of can. It just bubbled up and it has caused this ugly portion section that looks like it's tore up or rusted. I don't know. It looks bad. It's not going to keep me from finishing it, but I ended up with a very unsatisfactory look, at least on that side. I'm going to go back over it with the brush on paint to at least give it some semblance of what this looks like. I still got a lot of touch up to do. Overall, I think it's going to be okay. It'll be, just something I slap down, and it won't be perfect. I added some pieces of cardstock paper here to cover up some mistakes, some ugliness, and I think I pretty much added all the bits I wanted to kind of give it a little bit of a more busier look, because it looked like a toy when it was finished, or after I started painting. Hopefully this will be less of a toy and more of a ship. So that's the story of these two ships. Again, they're not perfect, but they're table ready, serve my purpose if I want to use these as ships for 28 millimeter and 35 millimeter characters. I think they work. They look like they belong there. This one was a little more innovative in that it was shampoo bottle, not perfect, but good enough. Would be okay putting this on the table, and I think people would immediately get that this is a 28 or 35 millimeter RPG ship. I think I disguised the shampoo bottle enough to fool anybody, but it's good enough. I'm happy with that one, despite the paint job problems. This one I didn't do a whole lot. There was not a whole lot of filming because there was not a whole lot of innovative about this, other than the mashup of the X-Wing and the Snowspeeder, which I enjoy doing, and just the scaling down challenge, which was to make it look like it fit in a 28 millimeter or 35 millimeter world, and I think it does. It works, and I again would not have any problem putting this on the table. So there are two ships for my base port encounter if I ever get one. We got several other ships that I'm going to work on, but these are two of them. They haven't been named. I'd like to name my ships, so if you got some suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Like and follow, and I'll do some more. I know it's sci-fi focused, and there's only a small niche of sci-fi RPG fans, but I hope you appreciate that. I'm going to get back to monster building soon. There they are. And always remember, seek the wolf in thyself. I want to have an extra unboxing or it's an unbagging for the Star Wars items. I got another one in the mail, and that alone is just too cool. But it's not just one an unbagging. But they said it was Star Wars, but I don't even know if this is or not. It looks like some kind of transformer, and got a couple wings, which I'm certain I can use for a shuttle that I want to build out of those Star Wars toys. Some kind of gun, but the catch is, how do I get these off? Oh, there it is. Screw right there. Now, this is obviously a cannon. I like the texture of that. This has got one little engine, and that's probably just going to have to come off. Looks like it does. And this could be shoot, just about anything. I'll have to take that apart and see what I can use it for. Anyway, just another eBay purchase, cheap. So that's it. I have another unbagging or unboxing just to add on to this, just to show you stuff that inspires me, where I might get some of this stuff. And this is another eBay lot of firework parts. I don't have the slightest idea what this is. It looks like some kind of sliding diorama or droids or something interesting. We used for a lot of things. What attracted me was a mixture. It was a mixture of Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie, and I saw this. This is a Klingon E7. Oh, I can do a lot with this stuff. Look at these things. Those go together. Something broke, but oh, there it is. Of course. Alright, so we got that. Of course, what was this General Grievous? I don't know if I'll use him unless I take him apart. I don't have the slightest idea what this is. Neat. Got a speeder bike top, lightsabers, which I'll never use. Darth Vader head. Again, never used. But these guns are cool. This is a cool bit. Got a leg. Very cool. Another bit. Another bit. Another dish. I've got another Millennium Falcon dish, which I have a couple other dishes that more weapons. Always another dish. This caught my attention, and I vaguely remember what this is. I remember seeing it somewhere. It's got something in it. I would take that apart, and that could be like the bottom to a ship or something. Transformer X-Wing with parts, wings broken off, all kinds of stuff. I'm already working on something I could use this for. I can just take it apart and use the engines. Snap on pieces for its doors, I can tell you that. It's obviously battery access or something. I don't know. Another lot of junk all over the place, but which, probably paid too much for. I'll add this to my lot. And until next time, always remember, seek the wolf in thyself.